Welcome to October Red Interviews. What an absolute pleasure to say you're the first female involved in boxing that I've had on the show as
Woo.
a boxer, because I've had Coach Shan as a coach,
Mm,
but you're the first boxer, so I'm absolutely buzzing about speaking to you.
Thank you for having me.
I know that you've been on, I call them like my brothers in arms, undefeated podcast.
Yeah,
And I've
yeah,
watched that interview. That was a really good interview. But it's
yeah,
just
yeah.
to get to know you, really. I know that
Mm,
you're a two times national champion, that you're an amateur at the moment, that
yeah,
you hold down a full time job
yeah,
as an account director
yeah. That's right.
that
Yeah.
specializes in PR and
Hmm.
social influencing and stuff like that. So you've got a good
Yeah.
day job.
Yeah, I do. It's very, very manic. I literally just came off a call like
Okay.
5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
So it's very, very busy. But yeah, I managed to hold it down. To be honest, training and
Yeah.
working in a
Yeah.
sort of 9 to 5 actually helps to balance me out. So
So you like to be busy then? You're
I
not
like to
somebody that
get
can sit idle.
I can't sit down. I actually can't.
Yeah. So
Even on my rest days, I'm trying to find something to do.
yeah. So how
Yeah.
do you cope then, like with the amateur stuff? Because we'll go into it. I know that you started boxing because, like you said, your work lunch times were involving, going to have a nice drink, and you thought, you know what,
Yeah.
we're going to take up fitness. You seem to have took it to the next level and got into boxing.
Yeah. It was just, never ending client meetings and you're always running around,
Social.
a lot of public relations or any kind of comms role is the client service part, right? So,
Hmm.
you'd have breakfast. So literally you'd go to fancy restaurants in the morning for breakfast and then your lunchtimes might be doing the same thing. It's literally non-stop client service.
Mm.
And it was getting too much. So we just needed something to break up the rhythm of the day. And yeah, we found ourselves in the gym and I just kind of took it to the, as you said, took it to the next level
Mm.
and joined the amateurs. And I'm just so grateful that, to be honest, my jobs really supported me at the time doing
Yeah,
something else.
yeah,
um, and I'm just glad that I did. I kept
yeah.
it up because here I am now.
Was there always something about boxing with you? I'm not trying to
I
lead you down a
always
road, but
No, no,
why
no, but
boxing?
my dad always loved boxing. I always grew up, in the house. They would talk about Frank Bruno and Mike Tyson. That was just
Okay,
always
yeah,
something.
yeah,
And so
relatable.
I always was interested in boxing. But I was more of a casual fan.
Mm,
I'd watch it when it was on the TV, but I wouldn't be actively going out seeking to learn more about boxing. I was just
mm,
casual. And then I
mm.
think as I got older, I got more into sports. So
Okay,
I used to do the public relations for Nivea, and they had a partnership with Liverpool FC. So then naturally I got more into football. And so
okay,
yeah, I just kind of explored different sports just through work,
yeah.
just through either the talent that we were working with or just because, it was something
Mm,
that I'd see on TV or friends. But with boxing, none of my girlfriends actually were interested. And to this day, they still don't really get it. But I had a lot of male friends that were, and I had a lot of people that I knew from growing up in South London that would box as well.
okay,
Yeah, so I just got more and more, interested in it. And then so naturally when I got into boxing through work, it just all kind of fit together.
clicked. Yeah.
Yeah, it just all clicked. And then
Mm,
yeah, here I am. So
wow.
when I moved jobs, it's like I actively went into the job telling them that I actually have something that I do full time.
Yeah,
So, I have to work flexibly and they all supported that. And
yeah,
to be honest, a lot of the people in my job now, they have side hustles, they have other businesses that they run. So, everyone has their own thing.
yeah.
They actively encourage it.
Well, to be fair, I think that's a good thing to have because you always need a
Yeah.
plan B. I mean, look
Hmm.
at what's happening at the moment with lockdown, people getting furloughed. And
Exactly.
furloughs is the glamorous word to say that you're not employed at the moment. That's
Right.
all it is. Fair enough. Some workplaces are topping up that 20%, but there's
Hmm.
people that are running on 80% with, you know, mortgages,
Yeah.
maybe have financed themselves too high and they're having
Yeah.
to find a difference. So I think it's always good to have a plan B.
Definitely. And
I
I'm just,
mean,
I have a degree. and I have a, you know, a qualification, and I have a job in like a senior position in a job. So I
Yeah.
have different things that I can fall back on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Your
obviously not
degree?
everyone has that opportunity. Oh, I studied journalism and law.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah. So I was practicing as a journalist at first, and then
Yeah.
I decided that PR was way more creative. I could use the skills from journalism, as in writing,
Mm-hmm.
and I specialize in media law.
Yeah.
So I usually use it in my day job every day.
Wow.
Yeah.
But
Like I
how
read.
far did you go with your degree?
Yeah, so I did an undergraduate, and then I got my journalism qualification. So I did them in silo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I was doing double of everything. Yeah, it was a yeah.
Wow.
So it just goes
So
to show you I can't sit down. I'm always doing something.
yeah, I like it. Proper active.
Yeah.
And to do them
Yeah.
concurrently as well, that's like,
Mhm.
how did your mind
Yeah,
cope with that? Two complete different subjects.
it was a lot. Well, to be honest, part of the journalism degree is the law part, because naturally you have to understand about the law, the landscape. That's why
Yeah.
it's media law specifically.
Okay.
But the benefit for me was that for my A levels, I'd done law. So we'd done criminal law, civil law. So it kind of was easy for me to get my head around anyway.
Yeah.
And I did think, oh, I'd become a solicitor, but then actually I realized that I wanted something a bit more creative,
Okay.
hence the journalism route, and then
Yeah.
the public relations route. So
Yeah.
I've gone about in a roundabout way, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. You
it all
always
kind of.
find your feet with what you do. You can make it work. You were
Mm-hmm.
good enough to have that foresight to say, okay, law, but I want to be more creative. So you were sort of like
Mm-hmm.
setting the path anyway.
Yeah,
Because as a
and my
boxer,
parents were supportive of it as well.
yeah,
So
yeah,
you know, can't complain. Like, luckily, they were like, do you know what? Whatever. Like, obviously, we'd love you to be, you know, the standard stuff, like a doctor, all that. But they were like, whatever you feel like you actually want to do, just go for
yeah,
it. So,
yeah.
you
But
know.
those ambitious foundations setting from your parents from a young age is absolutely priceless. I mean,
Yeah.
with those standards in place, and obviously you being, a degree holder in two subjects, not just one, just two, and then you come home to your family, because I know you've got quite strong core family Christian
Yeah.
values. Dad, mom, guess what I'm
Mm.
going to be doing? What was the
Yeah.
reaction of your parents?
I mean, they were like, at first, they were like, we don't understand why you're taking it seriously. They
Yeah,
thought it was just a hobby, because when I was when I was finishing my qualification, the journalism part of it,
yeah.
I was, you know, I started running. I was doing a lot of long distance running,
Mm-hmm.
just to help me, you know, get by. I
Mm-hmm.
was doing a lot of training at that time anyway, even
Mm.
just random. I just got into CrossFit. I was just trying everything, just something else
Okay.
to do as well as working.
Mm.
So yeah, when came to the boxing, they were like, you know, are you sure that this is something you want to do just
Yeah,
because, you know, it's dangerous, etc. And I was like, well, there's other sports that are dangerous, you know. Rugby, you hear a lot about people getting concussions.
yeah. The
You know, there's so many
CTE.
things that I could name. Yeah. So, but then eventually they understood that it was something that I really loved, and it helped me get through the day.
Mm.
And I just couldn't live without it. So they just had to get on board, to be honest. But
Yeah,
do you know what? My upbringing actually really helped me, because a lot of people ask, how do you manage a full-time job that's really demanding and training full-time effectively, even though I am an amateur? And it's because, you know, my dad's a reverend, but you know, I
ah,
grew up in a family of military men. So
okay.
that discipline was
Yeah,
always
it's
there,
core. It's core.
literally. And they always were like, if you got an A, you have to get an A star. Like, why didn't you get the A star? You know? And that's how I grew up. So I had to
Yeah,
do, you know, go hard at everything I did.
yeah, yeah.
And so they understood, like, if I'm going to do it, I'm not going to do it
Gonna excel.
half-heartedly. Like, exactly. So that's kind of
Yeah,
where I got to. Yeah. So they understand and they're on board with it now, and they're really
yeah.
supportive.
That is brilliant. Um, because it is, even though, like I said, you've still got your day job. That's
Yeah.
your core work at the moment. To live your dream and to have the support from your family. I mean, you should have said to your dad, "Well, it's kind of your fault, Dad, because you have me watching Frank Bruno and Mike Tyson when we were kids."
Yeah.
It was sort of like instilled in you from a kid, anyway.
Yeah, do you know what? It's so funny because he will call me now and they'll be like, I don't know, say Katie Taylor will be fighting. He'll be like, oh my
Yeah,
gosh, she's watching Katie Taylor. And it's just so funny because at first he was really reticent to it. And now he's like,
yeah.
because you need to turn on Sky Sports because
Oh wow.
XYZ is on.
Yeah,
So even though they obviously are still worried every single day because, you know, injuries, etc., but they're supportive and I
yeah,
can't really ask for anything else.
yeah. So which
Yeah.
club did you start at, Sedem?
So I started at Double Jab in New Cross, Southeast London.
Okay.
My friend took me there, and you know, I loved it there. It was great. You know, it was a proper family feeling, and everyone there. Like I still am friends with a lot of the people there still.
Yeah.
And then I moved to Repton just because you know, change of scenery. I was mainly based in East London, and so
Okay.
it was obviously with the full time work and the training, it was just a lot to be traveling. So moved to Repton, knew a few people there anyway, so they welcomed me,
Hmm.
and yeah, I've been there ever since.
Oh right. Okay. So you train at the same gym.
Yeah, so I'm yeah, still at Repton.
Okay, that's good because you hear a lot of people they seem to skip from gym to gym until they settle in. So you've only
Mm,
ever been to two gyms and you've stayed at the
yeah,
second gym.
yeah. I've only been to
So who do you
two.
train with? Who's your amateur coach?
So there's I mean loads. So there's
Oh
Steve
right.
Walters. Yeah, there's several at Repton, which is good as well because you get to learn different things from different people.
Mm-hmm.
There's another coach there called Ricardo Williams. Oh, there's so many to even mention. I
Okay.
don't want to do anyone a
Yeah.
disservice,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
um, yeah, like it's really good though because you go into the sessions when there
Yeah.
are sessions and you know you just do different things with different people.
Fair enough.
um it's you know anyone that knows Repton knows that anyone that goes there, it's a hard working gym. Like there's it's not really about the banter or anything like that. Everyone there is
To
serious.
graft. Yeah.
Yeah, and everyone's trying to outwork each other, which is why I loved it. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a really good vibe in there though. Even though
Mm,
everyone's trying to work hard, it's a good vibe. It's a friendly competitive spirit
yeah.
to say the
I
least.
think competitiveness breeds proactivity and you want to work
Mm,
harder. I think
mm.
you can get that with the sport anyway. You sort of you want that competition because you want to be the best. So
Yeah,
walking in there as a female, how many other females are in the gym?
I mean now there's quite a few, but when I first went, there were only a handful, and they were all at very small weights. So like 51, 50, you know, like I think there were a few 57s,
Yeah.
but
You're,
I
you're
fight at
welter,
69
aren't
kilos.
you? Are you welter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was the only world and to be honest, I still am. So a lot of my training was with the boys, which I was fine with because I was used to that. I've always been
Yeah.
used to that.
Yeah.
Um, but it's good though because now that there's been more girls that have been coming in, even when the lockdown ended temporarily, we
Yes.
had a few more girls that joined.
Mm,
So it's nice to see that people are actually trying to, you know, more females are trying to get in. Like it's really,
yeah.
really nice to see. And we can learn off each other, even if, you know, people are more experienced, you can still learn off each other, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. So
Yeah.
sparring the boys then. Um, I go to a gym and there's only a couple of ladies in there. So the majority
Mm.
of the sparring is with the lads. How do you
Mm.
find sparring the lads in the
Oh,
gym?
I always say this to
Tell us about one of your memorable experiences of sparring one of the guys in the gym.
okay. I'm not going to say who it is because it is a well-known
We
person.
don't need to do that, yeah.
You don't need
Keep that
to
quiet.
do that. But what I will say is that one of the coaches said, "Oh, you have to spar Sedem," and they were like, "Oh, do I have to?" Because they just probably felt that they don't want to spar a girl, not because they're better, but just because I
It's a
think
girl.
mentally they just yeah, it's a girl, right? It's a bit of a
Mm,
catch-22. You know, you don't know whether to hit them hard, and if you hit them hard, then you look a bit silly because you've you know but they were like, okay, cool. Well, you know, and they were heavier than me anyway,
mm,
much heavier. And this person's heavy handed. And yeah, we got in there sparring and, you know, we were giving each other good work. And after the spar, not that we had one up on each other or anything like that. It was, you
yeah.
know, technical sparring, but we were giving each other good work. And they came off out the spar and they were like, oh, that was good. Like they were pleasantly surprised to the point, like,
Mm,
you know, we've sparred since. And
okay.
that's what I've got a lot of the time. People that don't know me, you
Yeah.
know, they're just like, oh, it's another girl. They might hear that I'm maybe heavy-handed or whatever, but you never really know what to expect
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah.
But then, you know, like I'm not the type of person that goes in there and tries to take the mick out of anybody. Like I'm actually there to learn, you know.
Yeah.
So when they realize that I can actually box, they're like, oh, okay, like they're pleasantly surprised. So
Yeah.
it's interesting with the boys because I get even not just at Repton, you get that at most they see girls and they're like, oh. you know, don't want to move around with them, but or they position it as moving around, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
which
Oh,
also is a bit like, really, you know.
yeah.
But I've seen some girls give boys some serious shellackings, and so you can't underestimate anyone really. It's the long and short of that story,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. I think
Everyone has to get the same respect.
it's interesting because you seemed like you gained the respect. You obviously
Yeah,
the coach looked and thought, you know what, let them two get in together. And then
yeah,
reluctant, but like you said, there was, both gave each other some really good work. And then there's
yeah.
that respect gained.
Mhm.
As a female in boxing, do you feel like that's going to be always the case? I mean, obviously, when you turn pro,
Yeah.
you're fighting other females. But as you're pushing through, you get other sparring partners. Majority
Mm,
will be male due to the weight, etc. Do you feel
mm.
like it's like constantly having to prove yourself as I can box? Yes, I'm a female, but I can box.
Yeah, I think it will be like that, to be honest. And you know what? I'm not actually mad at that because I kind of enjoy
Okay, proving
proving
them wrong.
people. Yeah, like for me, it's like, do you know what? You might not rate me now, but you will after. And
Yeah,
if you don't, then you will tomorrow. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? That's kind of
yeah,
how I feel. So I'm
yeah,
not really bothered about it. Like I'm
mm,
used to it. I'm used to always being sort of like the minority person
yeah,
in work, and here in boxing, I'm the minority
yeah,
where I'm a girl. So
yeah.
actually, to me, it's just another day in
Just
the office.
another day. Yeah.
Yeah, like it doesn't bother me at all, and I
Mm.
quite enjoy it actually.
You know what? You've touched on something there, and it's the word of kind of like this is the way it is, so I just get on with it. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter whether it's right or wrong, moralistically.
yeah,
We do that. We have to chameleonize, don't we? Because we're either a minority in one thing or the other. So we're
yeah.
constantly having to chameleonize into any position, that
Mhm,
we go into in life. Like you said,
mhm,
from your professional work to
mhm.
the boxing gym, it's like
Yeah.
chameleon, chameleon,
I'll
chameleon.
give you another example. In at work, you know, sometimes some of my clients, I work,
Oh,
you know, I represent some big corporates as well.
yeah.
Some of my clients are maybe 20 years older than me, and I'm the account lead. And some, I know for a fact that in some of these meetings, they're probably thinking, this girl, she's young and she's basically giving me the consultancy to run my business, you know. But
Mm.
again, it's one of those where if I really let that get to me, that would, you know,
You
hamper my
wouldn't do anything,
confidence.
would you?
Yeah, so I decided from a really young age that I'm always going to be that person. So I just have to push through, and you're going to have to respect it. Even if you might not want to,
Yeah,
but you're going to have to respect what
yeah.
I'm saying or what I'm doing regardless. And that's how I feel, you know?
Proper go get
So
attitude. I love it.
yeah, and you
Because
just
you're
have
gonna
to,
need it in
because
the
if
sport
not,
anyway. So
yeah, you'll be second guessing yourself all the time.
so true.
And with boxing, I got into it really, really late. So does that mean that I should then be doubting myself when I'm in the gym? I didn't start at 6 years old. My dad didn't box. Like, there's so many things you could think of, but for me, I just put it to the back of my mind and I just keep it pushing.
Yeah. Spot on, because you can talk yourself out of opportunities by
Yeah.
second guessing everything. You've just got to
Hmm.
just keep
Yeah.
moving forward. So your
Yeah.
amateur bouts then, you make the decision now, you're serious about this amateur. And I have a lot of admiration and respect for guys that go through the amateur process to build their pedigree. Talk to us about your first experience, your first amateur bout, and how was it for you?
It was, you know, so say I'd been training really hard because I'm not a natural welterweight. I've always been a heavy girl. But when I
Oh,
joined when I joined the amateurs, one of my stablemates was like, do you know what? You're gonna get the best work at welterweight because the middleweights, there's hardly any in London, let alone the
okay.
UK.
Mm,
Yeah. So I thought, okay, let me just get down to the weight. And it wasn't hard. I just went pescatarian and the weight dropped off.
yeah.
Um, so I got down to welterweight. It took me like, yeah, hardly any time at all, waiting for a bout, and then I couldn't get matched. So then I just got a call on like a Tuesday or Wednesday. Oh, we've got a fight for you on Saturday. And it was like, okay, cool. Well, this is what I've been training for, no problem. And they were like, but actually it's at a dinner show. Okay, cool. So it's basically I'm the away person. We're gonna have to travel, etc. etc. So I thought, okay, well, this actually is the best time for me to figure out whether this is something I want to do, because I'm going in as the away
Test.
person,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna have to, have the mental resilience to be able to look at all these people who want me to obviously lose because they're supporting their girl,
Mm-hmm.
and still come through it. And actually, I really enjoyed the hostility. Like, I got there, did the medical, etc., and I was just looking at everyone like, "Do you know what? There's no pressure on me. There's pressure on my
Home quieter.
opposition."
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was actually fine. We were just waiting around. You do have the sort of the anxiety, like, when is it going to happen? Waited the whole day, basically.
Oh.
Yeah, because I guess the heavier weights, the later on they are on the show, right?
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And I think we were the penultimate bout. Yeah, so waited basically right to the end, and then it was over within like a minute and a half. So I was like, this is what I trained for.
Serious?
Yeah, so yeah, stopped her in less than like a minute and a half. And
What, with a
and then I
combination
just,
or one shot or?
no, it was an accumulation of shots.
Mm.
And then first it was the standing count, and
Mm.
then after that then they called it off. Yeah, and it
Excellent.
was, but the thing is, I'd never experienced that before, so I
Yeah.
felt so bad.
Oh, did
You
you?
know,
Oh, that's
I was
serious.
like, oh my God. Yeah, like I was like, oh my God, are you okay? Like I felt so bad. And my team were looking at me like, this is what boxing is. Obviously you see it on TV, but to actually hurt somebody,
Okay.
it's different.
Yeah.
And afterwards they'll say, no, I think her ribs are bruised or something. It was something happened, and I felt really terrible about it. But this is the game that we're in. It's the hurt
Sorry,
business,
I'm sitting here smiling. Sorry.
right?
Where's my
It was
compassion?
me or her,
Oh, yeah.
so
Yeah.
so after that I was like, actually I quite enjoyed that in the end. So when's the next one?
Yeah.
And that's it literally took off from there.
Wow. How many
Yeah.
amateur bouts have you had in total?
So 10, one all of them. But what was happening is that it was hard to match me after that.
Mm.
So I just kind of went
Or they
into
were ducking.
it. I wouldn't say that, but I don't know what was happening. It was just hard to match me. So I went into tournaments, and obviously you get a lot of experience, doing the fighting every day,
Mm-hmm.
traveling,
Mm-hmm.
like I learned a lot just about not just weight management, about how you're eating, just so many things
Yeah.
that I learned by doing
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Even just it's just little things, sleep and recovery. And so it was a really great experience. And as I was building momentum, we were going to do the elites last year, and then obviously lockdown happened. So it's a shame, but you know what, it is what it is. We
Yeah.
just had to work around it. So I've still been training throughout. It has been an adjustment, but I've got like a rowing machine at home. I've got a punch bag.
Okay.
So like I've got loads of equipment at home, so I've
Yeah.
basically just had to make do with what I could,
Yeah.
basically.
Are you
Over
still
the
out running as well?
Still out running, basically everything I can. I've
Yeah.
been trying to do it.
Yeah.
I've spent a lot of money just getting things in.
Yeah. You
But
have
you know
to.
what? Actually, it's good because it saves even the things like the commuting to the gym. You don't realize that takes time. If I can get an extra 30 minutes of sleep, it makes a difference. Just
Yeah.
little things like that. So especially where I work and I have to log on by a certain time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So basically, it's just one thing I've learned is that you have to adjust, and it might not be comfortable, but you have to adjust. And so that's kind of what I've done for the past
Yeah.
year.
But
How's you?
those foundations are there of discipline from the family upbringing, which is so
Mhm.
important because that will carry you through your whole
Yeah,
career. That strong discipline, the military style,
mm,
regimented. Let's get this done. Let's not do our best. Let's do better
yeah,
than our best. All of that
yeah,
carry you through. I mean, you've
yeah,
had 10 amateur bouts. You've won all of them so far. Usually people say, yeah, I won my first two, then I lost, and then I won the rest. You've just straight won all of your
yeah.
amateur
And they haven't
bouts.
been without, I won't go too much into it, but they haven't been without problems. Like,
Okay.
I mean, one of like when I did the Haringey Box Cup, I'd essentially damaged my tendons in my right hand
Oh,
2 weeks before the tournament. I was icing my hand every day for 2 weeks, and it was mentally, it was hard. And I said to myself, I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy, but if I can get through this, I can get through anything else.
anything, yeah.
When I did the nationals as well, after that, I'd rolled my ankle. you know, I was literally on crutches. And so it's just things like that. Like if you can get through those really, really challenging moments, you can get through anything. And I
Yeah.
always say that to people, like people will never know really how bad things are unless you tell them. And I'm only giving you kind of like the top line, but
Yeah.
it just shows me that I can push through anything. So anything that anyone wants to throw at me in the ring, go ahead. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
It's that
I've already had
mindset.
to push through. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's that mindset, and you'll know this, more than most, that boxing is it's about it's about up here.
Mm-hmm. It is
Um,
more that than the physical. Like when people used to say that to me all the time, and I was like, yeah, okay. And then I realized, no, that's actually it. Because a lot of the time, fights are won before you get into the
I can
ring,
imagine that.
you know?
Yeah,
Because, you know, you walk around, you see your opponent, and you can literally crumble just from seeing your opponent. Then when you get in the ring, you can't perform, you can't
yeah,
let your hands go. And
yeah,
I've really learned that just by observing and being in the situation myself. So
yeah,
that's the thing, like with my inexperience, I soak up everything. Even when I'm in the gym,
yeah,
I'm watching, you know, I study a lot when I'm at home because all these little things help you when
yeah,
you're moving on to the next step, right?
yeah,
So,
yeah. So how then, after all, after you win so far, how do you keep your ego in check? I'm massive on ego in boxing because sometimes your ego can be a couple of miles ahead of you. So how do you maintain that,
yeah,
grounding to say, I'm still. You've told me there. You said you're still learning. You'll study. You'll see what
mm,
improvements you need to make.
mm,
How do you pull that ego in to
mm.
say, don't get bigger than your boots?
Well, first of all, the people around you will keep you in check, but no one's had to do that to me because for me, nothing's ever good enough. And that's a
Okay.
problem that I have generally. You know,
Yeah.
I always want more. So I've never had a bout and thought that was fantastic. I'll never give myself an A, you know, never 10 out of 10 because I
Yeah.
always feel like I could have done this, I could have done that. So I always want more. So for me, I mean, personally, I don't see myself like having the whole ego issue because I always want to do better. And I
Do
feel like
better.
even
Mm.
if you're at the top, you know, world champions, you can still do better, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
like nobody's perfect. And that's kind of how I see it. And I haven't even done a fraction of what I plan to do. So bottom line is there's no ego to have right now. You know what I mean?
You'd be
I've got so
surprised.
much work to do.
You'd be surprised. Some people,
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah.
yeah, speaking to, like, or seeing it myself, you can see that
Mm,
people are way ahead where they should be, and confidence is a good thing.
mm.
I still think you should have a little bit of humility to
Of
just keep your
humility,
senses
facts.
about you, to make sure you're
Yeah,
still absorbing, like you said. You keep learning,
yeah,
you know.
yeah,
So we said about a fraction there. There's a key word there. You said a fraction of what you've got planned. Tell us
yeah.
what you've got planned.
Well, I mean, definitely, I just have to do more. I've only got what, like 3 gold medals. That's nothing, like to me, you know.
It is when you've
Um,
got none.
but like, there's so much
Oh, I
more
get
that
what
I
you're
want
saying.
to
Yeah.
do. Like, you know, eventually, obviously, I want to turn over, and
Yes.
I want to win everything that I can at
Yeah.
welterweight. There's so many really, really quality boxers,
Yeah.
you know, more so at world level, and those are the belts that I want. I want to be like one of the first British Ghanaian female champions. That's something that I definitely want to do for my country,
Mm,
and I plan to do it. So it's
yeah.
just about making the right moves to get there.
Yeah.
And again, as you say, just keeping myself in check at all times
Yeah.
because there's work to be done.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah.
So, how many more amateur bouts are you going to try and push for? I mean, fingers crossed, we're coming. It looks like we're coming over the hill. There's light at
Mm.
the end of the tunnel. Who knows with this new variant that they've found, and them extending furlough till
I
September.
know, I saw that. Oh, so
And I
baffling.
was like, what? Do not tell me the gyms aren't opening on April the 12th. Don't do that to me,
I
please.
know, I
But
know.
you're in the
Keeping
same
everyone over the
predicament
edge.
because you're not classed as elite. So,
Yeah.
how many more amateur bouts? Like I said,
I
fingers
mean,
crossed.
fingers crossed.
Mm,
We're hoping that tournaments such as Haringey, which was planned in June, and
yes.
basically those tournaments that will be the back end of the season,
Yeah.
which is now different.
Mm,
definitely would love to still do those,
yeah.
and get those elite tournaments out of the way for
Okay.
sure, and then make a move. That would be ideal, because
Yeah.
especially with the inactivity, you will know, like,
Yeah.
activity is really, really important, and so I definitely would want to do those tournaments before I
Mm.
make any next steps, for sure.
Did you never consider the Olympics?
Well, the way when I joined the amateur system, it was only literally I only had my first amateur bout in April 2019. So
Really?
yeah.
You've had a lot of fights then?
Yeah, so by the time I won anything, like, doing the trials and stuff, I was never in
Okay.
the right sort of yeah, it was never the right timing. So
Okay.
those people that have qualified for Team GB, etc.,
Yeah.
they would have done European Commonwealths, and
Right.
obviously I wouldn't
Okay.
have done that yet. Exactly. So obviously the Olympics is an amazing achievement, but I suppose I've accepted that it's not everyone's journey,
Hmm.
and it's not something that I'm prepared to wait around for either, to be
Yeah.
honest. So
Yeah.
yeah, like, I really respect all those guys on Team GB who are still trying to keep the dream alive.
Mm.
Because can you imagine, there's me who's trying to do like general nationals, but those people, the Olympics is like the epitome of the amateur
Yeah.
system, and
Yeah.
they're just hanging on to a dream.
Mm.
So
So what time? Also, I'm gonna I'll put a year on it then. When are you looking to turn pro?
yeah, let's say soon. I'll give you soon. It just
Soon.
really just depends on what happens in the next few months,
Yeah.
essentially,
Yeah.
before we can, like, make a decision. But
Mm.
I'm to God, really.
Yeah. So in relation to, you said that, when you started off, because, nutrition and weight management is something that I'm quite interested in. And you said
Mm,
that you started off as a heavier weight. So
mm,
I know you mentioned that you went pescatarian and it dropped off. Are
mm.
there any other tips that you could give the listeners? Because not
Yes,
everyone can just start, eating the fish and the weight comes off.
yeah, yeah. So even before I joined boxing altogether, I mean, growing up, I was always a chubby girl, always.
Oh, okay.
And around 20, I'd say, when I was graduating from uni, I
Yeah.
made a big life change
Okay.
to just go completely healthy. And
Hmm.
I dropped about 4.5 stone. And by
Fantastic.
dropping the 4.5 stones, it wasn't just the running I was doing. I basically started eating small meals 5 or 6 times a day, and I still do
Yeah.
it now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I eat, yeah. So I've already had about 5 meals today. I've got one more left at about
Yeah.
7 o'clock. My
Yeah.
nutrition. So I eat, yeah, about 5 to 6 meals a day.
Hmm.
Normally I start off with eggs and something like salmon or avocado.
Yeah.
And then I'd normally have like Weetabix or oats.
Hmm.
And then I'd definitely have a protein-based lunch with
Hmm.
either vegetables, if it's stir fry or steamed. Basically, it's the same. I have the same variation of meals
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah.
It's really important to do meal preps, because if not, then
100%.
it's easy to stray off. So
100%.
usually on a Monday or a Sunday, I'll cook for like 3 days
Yeah.
basically. And
Yeah.
then that massively helped me. And that's how I dropped a lot of the weight.
Yeah.
And then, so I was walking around about middleweight naturally. And then when I joined the amateurs, got down, then I was walking around, I was even walking around under my fight weight just because of
Okay.
training.
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, now I walk around, yeah, still around my fight weight, but I'm still continuing to eat healthily, because if
Maintain. Mm.
obviously, we're not as active and the weight will just pile back on. So yeah.
Yeah. So it does come on as quick as it goes off, because I found that, in the lockdown, if you don't stick to your game, like you said, the meal prep is so important. Everyone thinks that, weight management's about exercise. No, it's not. It's
It's
your
this
food.
it's yeah. I think I read something where it's like 80/20. I don't know how true that is,
Yeah, it
but I
sounds
have
familiar.
personally found that it's the diet for me that's
100%.
important.
Yeah. Yeah.
So luckily, like, I don't drink or stuff like that, but I'm sure that even adding a glass of wine to your
Oh
day,
gosh,
even if you've had
calories and alcohol.
yeah.
It's just
So
sugar, isn't it?
basically,
Mm.
it just tastes good, but it's not worth the hassle.
Yeah, I can't be arsed with it. To be,
Yeah,
there's just no benefit. So I just stick to
yeah.
water now. Water or my own juices. I've got a juicer, and I just make my own
Okay.
drinks, my own
Well,
fruit
that's a good
juice.
point you've made. So what juices do you generally make?
I'll make pineapple,
Okay.
um, apples,
Mm.
and ginger. Just
Right.
those
Okay.
three. It's very
Right.
potent, but I like the ginger, and because of all of this corona stuff,
Yeah. All
ginger's
the
a lovely
antioxidants.
antibiotic, a natural
Mm.
antibiotic, very strong.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll do my own juice,
Mm.
or I'll just do a plain carrot and turmeric. Turmeric
Right.
is anti-inflammatory side
Mm.
of it, but it's just better rather than spending £2 or how £3-4 on a juice that is
Mm.
highly processed. They say it's natural, but
But
it isn't. When you can do it at home, so it's like you said, it's that discipline to say okay, and you just literally disintegrate the calorie intake from
100%.
eating your own prepared home food and drink.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
much better.
And
Uh,
also, like, a lot of this information is available online, but a lot of people just don't know where to find it. It's really hard to find the
mm,
right information. But I've done so much research on just little things like obviously, more sugar you have and salt, it goes straight to your face and your gut, you know?
mm,
And it's just like just little things like reducing how
mm.
much sugar you put in your tea. I don't
Yeah.
put sugar in my tea at
I
all
don't
anymore
use
because I'm
sugar.
like, it's
Mm,
not even worth
no.
it. So it's all these little things that and for boxers or people in competitive sports where you have to weigh in, it's really hard, you know. So my thing is trying to maintain it all the time, because if not, it's a shock to the system when
Yes,
you have to start getting
yes.
back into fight mode, you know.
There you
So
go. That is so true.
yeah,
It like you said, it boils down to you've got a lovely foundation of discipline, so you apply that into absolutely everything that you do. Do
everything.
you know what I
Makes me a
mean?
bit crazy, but
Yeah. You were well, moving from that, talking about that, you've got a little bit of a celebrity status because you've been in a magazine or two.
no,
Talk to
don't
us
say
about that.
that.
Doing a bit of
um
modeling.
yeah, so I don't know, people might look at it and say she hasn't even done the Olympics and why is she out there? Like, I don't know. I guess people find my story interesting because I don't come from a traditional boxing background. I think that's what it is.
Hmm.
And I think my point to people is that you can actually get into it anyway. There is no script for doing what you want to do. And
Hmm.
that's just how I feel about it. And I'm testament to that. So I
Mm,
guess that's why I had a great opportunity with Sports Direct and Reebok, because it was just
yeah,
showing that you don't have to be super young, an 18-year-old getting into the amateurs, winning titles and stuff. Like, you can
yeah,
literally do it
yeah,
your way. And that was what that whole campaign was about, doing things your way.
yeah.
And yeah, so I've just managed to get a really great opportunity, thank God, like, just because I have a different story to tell. And
Mm,
so hopefully the opportunities keep coming, because I've got more things to do. And I want to
absolutely.
keep inspiring like girls as well, because if you're unsure about what you're doing, or if you feel like you have a purpose of doing something else,
Hmm.
you need to go for that and
Hmm.
find a way to make it work for you. And you might have stumbling blocks. Your plan A might not actually be the right plan, but you just have to try and go for it some way, shape, or form. So
Timing, the magical word in boxing that you can apply to absolutely everything is timing. Um,
absolutely.
I do think that you are influencing people. I saw the article, and I was pleasantly, pleased to see, and the modeling. These are all things that will come in to, benefit you when you turn over. These are,
Mm,
speak it into existence. These are potential sponsors ready and waiting.
yeah.
I've called it now.
Amen to that.
I'm not
Amen.
superstitious like that to say, oh, you shouldn't say it before it has, before it happens. But
No, you have to
know,
speak things into existence.
absolutely,
It's true.
absolutely, because there'll be somebody sitting at home, watching your journey and saying, you know what, I'm going to do that
Mm.
because you're
And that's
there.
what I want to encourage like girls to do as well, because
Yeah,
a lot of my friends were like, "Seds, why now?" And I'm like, "Why not?"
why not?
So, and that's just how I feel. And that's it was a hard adjustment, because I went from the person who was at the function to I can't come out because I've got to sleep, and people didn't get it. But
Mm,
now, people understand that if I'm serious about something, I
folk.
have to take it all the way.
Yeah,
And so I have to focus, and really that's the bottom line.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So you're favorite female boxers then,
Favorite
and
female
why?
and
Why
why?
is always a double, because you can say why not and yes.
Mm,
Do you know what I mean? So
yeah.
who do you, when I say look up to, or who do you admire as a female in the sport of boxing, past, present, whenever there's no time restraints?
I'm glad you said no time restraints because Anne Wolf, to me,
Yes,
I
yes,
really, really admire her because she was doing it at a time when, I mean, quite frankly, people want to see Felix's now, but back then, absolutely not. And she was willing to fight anybody, even though she didn't get all of those big fights, she was willing to fight anybody.
yes, she
She
was.
took down a lot of killers as well,
Mm,
and she was just relentless.
mm,
You know, she was willing to go for everything, and she showed her vulnerability in and out of the ring.
mm.
And that's what I like about her. And she, I know she, coaches now and stuff, and
Yep,
so she's sharing her knowledge,
yep.
which is fantastic because it's about what are you going to do when you're done. You need
Paid
to be able
forward.
to mentor
Mm,
people, and so yeah, she's definitely my number one when it
mhm,
comes to female boxers. But I mean, there's loads of women that are doing great things, like Clarissa Shields,
mhm,
two-time Olympian. You
mhm,
can't, whether you like her or not, you
mm.
can't knock her because she has done what
Yeah,
people dream to do. So,
absolutely. Mm,
like, you have to respect it.
mm.
So yeah, there's so many females like that though that are
Yeah,
just trying their hardest to make an imprint and to secure their legacy. But for me, Anne Wolf is definitely number one.
yeah, yeah. I'm
Yeah,
just thinking, if you turn over pro, who's in your weight category? Because I'm not good with the female weight
the females.
categories.
I
I'm
know it's hard, isn't
terrible
it?
with it.
Because in the UK, there aren't a lot. I think there's a couple other girls in the UK, not in London though. One of them, can't even remember her name now. I can see her, but yeah, there's only a couple other girls that are listed like on BoxRec who are welterweights. But I'm sure after the Olympics, if they even
Yes,
happen,
they'll
a lot of
turn
girls
some
will
more.
come through. Yeah, naturally. I'm sure a lot of people are planning to turn over. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
But a lot of the welterweights are probably like European, definitely a few in the States as well. So
yeah.
there's talent out there. It's just about them starting to come through like me now. So
Your style of fighting. When we see Sedem, because I have looked on the internet for your fights,
you won't
they're not
find
on
them.
YouTube.
You won't find them.
I can't find any, so I don't know what your style is. So talk to me a little bit
Yeah.
about what your style is.
Yeah, people that try and find me, you're not gonna find. Do you know? Because when you do tournaments,
Yeah,
they're within. When they do a live stream, you're within 6 hours of a live stream. So
right.
that's why.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, I mean, I'm a boxer puncher. Let's put it that way. I can fight on the front foot and I can fight on the back foot. But yeah, ultimately, I'm a boxer. That's how I was always taught, and that is what I always keep within my skill set as well. So yeah,
Well, I can't wait to see you turn over pro. I can't wait for lockdown to finish so you can,
I
push through the
know.
rest of, you amateur bouts, get that pedigree, get
Mm,
that experience. And then when it's the right
mhm,
time, make the decision to say, okay, we're gonna turn over. So I wish you
mm.
absolutely nothing but the best. And thank you very
Thank
much for
you.
coming on October Red
No,
interviews.
thanks for having me. It's been a good chat. Thank you.
October Red on YouTube. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. And don't forget, at October Red, we stay ready.